Good morning, everyone. To the organizer of this forum, Vitamin Angels Philippines, to the president and CEO, we have Howard Schiffer, Dr. Edie Dayanghirang of the National Nutrition Council, Director Antonio of the Bureau of Internal Health Cooperation, and Dr. Beverly Ho of DOH DPCB. Of course, to the partners of the Vitamins Angels who are present in this virtual forum, magandang umaga po. The current state of nutrition in the Philippines is my main focus for this presentation. So we all know that the Food and Nutrition Research Institute is an attached agency of the Department of Science and Technology. This is the primary or the prime institute that caters to the research and development in foods and nutrition, as well as in science and technology services. So our vision is to have optimum nutrition for all Filipinos, socially and economically empowered through scientifically sound, environment-friendly, and globally competitive technologies. Now, to attain our vision, we have put forward our mission, and that is the provision of accurate data, correct information, and innovative technologies to fight malnutrition. Thinking aloud, our DOST FNRI mandates are what we call the three Ds. I always have this as our three Ds at FNRI. The three Ds means to say that the first mandate is to define the nutritional status of our Filipino population with reference particularly to the malnutrition problems, its causes or their causes and effects. We have to develop and recommend policy options, strategies, programs, and projects for implementation by appropriate agencies. This is actually usually these policy recommendations, strategies, or programs and projects are really designed to be focused on solving malnutrition in the country. That is actually the results of the first mandate. And after developing the technologies or the different program models, we diffuse knowledge and technologies in food and nutrition and provide science and technology services to our relevant stakeholders. So, why do we conduct the National Nutrition Survey and why do we have that first mandate? First is to update the official statistics of the Philippines in food and nutrition situation. So, nutritional status of Filipino 0 to 5 years old children are inputs to the telling us the magnitude of undernutrition in the country. We actually also show or reveal the rate of progress in reducing undernutrition and to actually get focused on the different lingering and persisting problems of micronutrient deficiencies. Moreover, the data of the National Nutrition Survey is to update the official statistics of the Philippine food and nutrition situation on the windows of opportunities to accelerate reduction of undernutrition. Specifically, we give information or provide information on infant feeding practices, maternal nutrition, food and nutrient intake of children beyond breastfeeding, and household food security. Now, let me now proceed with presenting to you the landscape of the nutritional status of Filipino children. So, giving you this scenario, you can see here that through the years from 2003 to 2019, that's actually barely 16 years, right? So you can see that we started in 2003 a prevalence of 33.8 for stunting, and in 2019 we have 28.8. Now, if you see the reduction in percentage points, we only have incurred around 5 percentage point in a span of 16 years, no? So therefore, there is a very snail-paced decline in the prevalence of stunting in the country. However, what is very interesting is in um, in 2018 to 2019, the prevalence went down somewhat. We incurred around about 1.5 percentage point in span of 1 year. So if this pattern will actually be consistent through the years, then let's see what will happen if we can attain the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, for underweight, you can see the trend. From 2003 to 2019, there is only 1.7 percentage point decline for 16 years. And there is a plateauing of the prevalence for almost from 2003 to 2016, no? But in 2018, there we incurred a slight decline, and it plateaued again from 2018 to 2019 at 19%. With regards to our wasting prevalence, the prevalence of wasting, we started in 2003, 6.1%, and it went down to 5.8% in 2019. So we just incurred around zero point 0.3, no, percentage point decline in 16 years. And you can see also the trend. That's why I presented the trend in order for us to assess ourselves. Are we really doing fine? No? And then from 2003 to 2019, with regards to our overweight and overweight for height, you can see that we just started at 1.9 in 2003, but in 2019, it went up to about 2.9. However, you can see the prevalence in 2018 is about 4.0. It went down significantly to 2.9, about 1.1 percentage point, no? So a decline. So I think the interventions that we had between 2018 and 2019 is quite good in terms of the reduction of overweight for height, no, among this age group. However, trying to assess our accomplishments vis-a-vis the Sustainable Development Goals, that is actually to end malnutrition in all its forms by 2030. You can see that from 2018 to 2019, we have a zero point 0.1 percentage point decrease in the prevalence of underweight. However, if we like to attain our Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, we must actually run as high as 1.7 percentage point reduction per year. And considering stunting, which is actually a very sensitive indicator and a specific indicator of undernutrition, you can see here that in 2019, among our under 5 children, we have 28.8, right? So from 2018 to 2019, we incurred around 1.5 percentage point decline. And by 2022, we must have to have 21.4 decline as per our PPAN target, or the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition target in 2022 is about 21.4. If that is the case, are we really are we going to are we saying that with this speed of 1.5 percentage point, can we attain the 21.4 for PPAN target? Because if we want to actually attain our 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, we must have at least 2.6 percentage point reduction per year. And I think we are too far from this because in a span of 1 year, we only have about 1.5 percentage point. So with regards to wasting, now wasting prevalence, from you can see here, no, it's only about 0.2 percentage point decrease from 2018 to 2019. Now the PPAN target is we must attain around 5% in 2022. Now we must have at least 0.5 percentage 0.5 percentage point reduction per year, no? So for overweight for height, so this is a very good indication though, because we already have a 1.1 percentage point decline compared to our sustainable development goal by 2030. Wherein, if we have this we have an original percentage point of about 3.9, we must actually run only zero point 0.3 percentage point reduction per year, considering the data that we have right now. However, our target for 2022 for PPAN is 3.9. So we are requesting actually to adjust or to have an interim planning and set the target for the overweight for height for this age group, because we already attained 2.9% by in 2019. So the prevalence of anemia among our children 6 months to 5 years old in 2019, you can see that for this age group, we only have about 12.5% anemic population in this age group, and quite a good decline from our 2018 data. However, you can see here, from 6 months to less than 1 year, almost about 38%, no? So almost 40%. Uh, um, a prevalence of anemia in this age group. And take note that this is actually the window of opportunity, one of the period of window of opportunity, since we are still less than, the children are still on infancy. That's actually less than 1 year old. So for children 1 to 5 years old, you can see that there is a mild prevalence, that's 11%. So if we like to focus more on anemia, we have to really focus our efforts in solving anemia among 6 months to less than 1 year old. Now, for our vitamin A prevalence, vitamin A deficiency prevalence. So the overall mean serum retinol indicate acceptable level. That's actually 20 to 49 microgram per deciliter of vitamin A concentration. And vitamin A prevalence indicates public health concern of moderate if the level is only 10 to less than 20%, right? So what we are saying here is that we are actually having a prevalence of 16.9 for this age group, 6 to less than 5 years. So we are having a moderate problem of vitamin A deficiency. The same holds true with our children 6 months to less than 1 year, and children 1 to 5 years old. So disaggregating the 6 months to 5 years into two groups, children less than 1 year old have, sorry, disaggregating the 6 months to less than 5 years old into two groups, children less than 1 year old have higher vitamin A prevalence than children 1 to 5 years old. Both groups having moderate level of vitamin A prevalence. Okay, so moving forward, the prevalence of vitamin A deficiency among children 6 months to 5 years old by a single age in 2018, because our data for 2019 will just be presented in June. First week of June, we'll be releasing already the updated data. So for the 6 months, if we disaggregate this, 6 months to less than 1 year, you still can see that there is a moderate public health problem. However, our 1 year old children, it's actually becoming already going to the severe deficiency. And all the other age groups, it's actually more on the moderate public health significance. So what are the windows for action for all of us? Let me present to you the infant and young child feeding practices, which actually can be focused more in our for our efforts because of it being the window opportunity. So as you can see, there is a new release WHO guidelines on the indicators of infant and young child feeding, but we base these indicators um, in the older version, because this was the data was taken in 2018. So we have these breastfeeding indicators. We have the early initiation of breastfeeding within 1 hour after birth. And then we have the exclusive breastfeeding from birth under 6 months and continued breastfeeding up to 2 years or beyond. So timely breastfeeding initiation in the Philippines, you can see if we say timely, it's not actually catering to within 1 hour after the delivery among our children 0 to 23 months. You can see that there is really a significant increase in timely initiation of breastfeeding, and we are really very happy on this data. Hopefully by 2021, if we will finish our national nutrition survey, because we aim, or we actually we are trying our best to really get the data for the remaining 37 provinces that we did not complete in 2020. We are very optimistic that we can do it this year towards maybe the second quarter. And the proportion of infants less than 6 months old exclusively breastfed at time of survey. Take note that this is actually the prevalence at time of survey. So we have 57.9%, or we can say around 58%. And this is a very significant increment from the 2018 data. However, percentage distribution of exclusive breastfeeding among under 5 years old by single age in months, you can see here that at 0 month, you have, of course, very high. And it decreases until the age of 5 months. No? So, breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding under 6 months to 5 months, or under 6 months, is actually decreasing as the infant grows older. So that's actually the focus that we have to intensify our efforts in actually increasing the rate of breastfeeding during this age, no, under 6 months. However, trend in the proportion of Filipino infants breastfed from birth until 5.9 months. This is actually already what we call exclusive breastfeeding until 6 months. And therefore, you can see that out of those 57%, we only have 35% who have breastfed their infants from 0 month to actually 6 months, or 5.9 months. So again, we have to intensify efforts to increase exclusive breastfeeding from 0 to 6 months. The duration of ever breastfeeding. So you can see here that there is actually a mean duration of breastfeeding. So you have about, for exclusive breastfeeding, only 4.4. And for the ever breastfeeding, you have the 8.3%. So that's for me, what is more important to us now is the duration of exclusive breastfeeding must be increased. Continued breastfeeding at 1 year and at 2 years in 2015 and 2019. So you can see at 1 year, continued breastfeeding until the age of 1 year, we have 54%. And for 2 years, around 34%. So complementary feeding indicators. So after the age of 6 months. So age of introducing complementary foods at 6 months, minimum dietary diversity, micronutrient adequacy, that means to say the quality, and then minimum meal frequency, that's actually energy adequacy, and minimum acceptable diet, that's combining the two indicators. So if I say minimum dietary diversity, this pertains to the quality of intake of our 6 months to less than 2 years. If I say minimum frequency, meal frequency, that's actually pertaining to the quantity of energy adequacy of intake of these children. And if I say minimum acceptable diet, it's actually combining both, which is the very good indicator because we can achieve both quality and quantity. So let's see the scenario. So the trends in the proportion of children who receive timely complementary foods at 6 months. So you can see here that from 6 to 8 months, so we have 84% in 2019 and 78.8% in 2018. So there is a significant increment from the previous years. So for 6 months also, you have a significant increment. This is a very good indicator. And also from 7 months until 8 months, about 91.3%. So the timely introduction of complementary foods is really good, right? They started at the age of 6 months. Okay, so but let's take a look on what are the complementary foods given to young children in this age group. Of course, you can see the commercial baby food. And next is the lugaw. Lugaw means to say it's plain lugaw, no? So it's we also have mashed vegetable, and then rice, and then biscuits or bread, and then fruits came last. That's only about 2.2%. So let me now move on presenting the minimum dietary diversity. As I said, if a child have a dietary diversity score of more than 4 food groups, then that's actually a good indicator. So these are the different food groups that we have for these young children. So if they attain 4 types of these, then they are actually meeting the minimum dietary diversity score. So you can see that only 20% have actually attained that. So I think there is really a significant decline from the 2018 to 2019. So again, focusing more efforts on this to really intensify the educational campaign, and actually I think more on trying to have a person who really is making effort on explaining to mothers or to parents the importance of giving their children variety of foods. And trends in the proportion of children meeting the minimum dietary diversity score. So you can see that there is also a significant decline from our 2015 to 2019. Now, with the meal frequency, so ilang beses binibigyan ng mga bata ng pagkain. So 2 times for breastfed infants 6 to 8 months old, 3 times for the breastfed children 9 to 23 months old, and 4 times for non-breastfed. So this is actually the definition of our categorization for the meal frequency. So you can see that most of our children have met actually the minimum meal frequency, palaging pinapakain. But for me, this is also very good. However, take note on the quality of food that is actually being given to them, in order for us that we cannot encounter some sort of deficiencies. So the minimum acceptable diet, it's actually the proportion of children 6 to 23 months meeting both, as I have said, the minimum dietary diversity and the minimum meal frequency. For me, this is the most good indicator or sensitive indicator for this, because it caters to both the quantity and the quality. And among our children 6 to 23 months, it's very sad to say that only 9.9% are actually meeting this. Now, for maternal nutrition, so you can see that the trends in the prevalence of nutritionally at-risk pregnant women, we have 22.9%, or it is rounded off to 23%. We know very well the consequences of nutritionally at-risk pregnant or undernourished or overnourished pregnant women during this stage, because this might have an impact on their newborns. And trends in the prevalence of overweight and obesity and chronic energy deficiency among our lactating mothers, you can see that chronic energy deficiency is 10.4. However, our obesity among these lactating women is about 31.1%. So you can see that anemia prevalence is declining among our pregnant women. It's a very good indicator. And of course, also to our lactating women. For vitamin A deficiency, you can see, no, pregnant women from 9, we started at 9 in 2013, it has declined to 2.8. And I think our efforts in this vitamin A deficiency, kudos to vitamin angels, maybe they contributed to this and their partners, no? Thank you so much. Maybe you're one of those of the contributory factors in the decline of this vitamin A deficiency among these physiological groups. And food intake of children, contribution of food groups to mean one day food intake. So we took actually what is the percentage of their different food items in the total one day mean intake of these children. You can see, of course, the biggest portion is actually cereals and cereal products. That's actually including your rice and the lugaw. And try to go to see how many fruits are actually there, especially among our 6 to 11-month-old children. And of course, you can see that there is a very minimal amount of fruits and vegetables in the diet, and also dried beans for that matter. And milk and milk products declines as the child grows older. And note that, of course, eggs and milk and milk products are really good sources of highly biological proteins and also calcium. So consumption of milk and milk product by age group, there is a decreasing trend. So 52% of children 6 months to 5 years of age had milk in their diet. However, the overall intake of milk decreases dramatically after infancy. And fish and meat and poultry by age group. So you can see that 70% of children 6 months to 5 years of age had intake of meat and alternatives. But generally, the intake of meat increases with child's age. So baliktad po. And for fruits and vegetables, only 37% of children eat vegetables. So the mean intake is actually 15 grams per day. That's actually raw weight, which is actually corresponding to less than 1/4 serving size per day. And 11% of children eat fruits with a mean intake of 16 grams per day, which is corresponding to about 1/4 serving or medium-sized fruit per day. So for fortifiable staples, 94% of children eat rice and products, and 57% of children use fats and oils, and 31% of children consume sugars and syrups. So for the 94% of children eat rice and products, these are actually some of those are those fortified processed or commercial products. And the fats and oils are also fortified with vitamin A, no? For sugar, actually, since this is not actually fortifiable, so there's actually a moratorium for this, no? So list of 10 food items most commonly eaten by our 6 months to 5 years old. So you can see, of course, rice, then coconut oil, and then milk. So these are the percent of total subjects who are actually consuming this, and we rank them into the number of subjects consuming. So energy intake estimate requirement, you can see that it's very far from this. The green one is our ER, or the estimated energy requirement. The REI is the recommended energy intake, and the blue one is the energy. And you can see at all age groups, they are far from the recommendation. And for vitamin A, you can see that there is a declining micronutrient inadequacy prevalence. So we still have, although we have a mild to moderate problem of vitamin A deficiency, the intake reveals that we have about 45% of our children under this age group are having inadequate vitamin A intake. And the same holds true with our vitamin C. You can see that the blue one is 6 to 11 months, and the red one is 1 to 2 years, and three and combined is actually the green one. So you can see here that the level of inadequacy of intake for vitamin C, vitamin A, iron, and calcium is really very high, especially for iron and our calcium intake. And for the prevalence of inadequacy for thiamine intake, so you can see that for thiamine or B1, they have 58% are inadequate for 3 to 5 years old. And, if you try to see the, the level of inadequacy, the riboflavin is highest during the age of 6 to 11 months. So you cannot see an inadequacy of intake uh, for 1 to 2 years old for niacin. You only have it among the 6 to 11-month-old children. And for the 3 to 5 years old, there is also an inadequacy of niacin. So households by food security status. So in 2018 and 2019, in 2018 we have 54 or 53.9%, rounded off to 54%, among the households surveyed are experiencing food security, food insecurity. And in 2019, we have seen about 64% who are food insecure. And there is a tremendous significant increment from our 2018 to 2019 data. So what are the different indicators for food insecurity? You can see here that worried about food is the number one. And unable to eat preferred food is the second. But I like to caution you that this indicator, ate a smaller meal, that's actually a very sensitive indicator. That means to say they are not meeting the quantity and of course the quality of intake. Therefore, it's giving us really a worsened nutritional deficiencies. So ate fewer meals in a day, had no food of any kind in the household, and experienced going to sleep hungry, experienced going a whole day and night without meals. Okay? Why are we focusing on the nutritional status of children? It's just because of the cost of hunger. We have calculated with the Save the Children report using our data in the 2013. You can see that we have a total cost of hunger of about 328 billion pesos. And this is actually allotted, about 166.50 billion is allotted to the lost income due to lower educational achievement. And then about 1.23 billion educational cost, and 160 billion loss of productivity due to premature mortality. Moreover, we have losses from children suffering from undernutrition. This is from UNICEF, and you can see that with our data, we are losing around 220 billion per year. Over 29,000 Filipino children die 5 years old each year, and an estimated of about 4.8 billion yearly is needed for every key interventions, especially during a child's first 1,000 days. That's why we are catering to the first 1,000 days. However, if we try to invest 49 pesos investment to address undernutrition, there is a return of investment of about 587 pesos. So, which one do we like? Are we going to invest 49 pesos and gain 587 pesos, or we will lose 220 billion pesos per year? So let me now give you the conclusions and implications to programs. So undernutrition affects a significant percentage of Filipino children. The rates of achieving national targets need to be accelerated. So inadequate infant and young child feeding practices, including So including low prevalence and short duration of exclusive breastfeeding and poor quality of complementary foods. Undernutrition among significant percentage of pregnant and lactating women must actually be addressed. Usual food intake of young child beyond breastfeeding is inadequate in energy, iron, calcium, and vitamin A, particularly after 12 months of age. And the 1 day per capita food intake in Filipino households in 2018 was deficient for most of the nutrients. Now, windows for action, of course, we like to strengthen the promotion of breastfeeding until 6 months of age and appropriate complementary feeding and breastfeeding, milk intake throughout childhood, because milk is really a source of calcium, and that's if we our problem is stunting, and it's also in our guideline, no. So I think we have to think, if we cannot have milk because of its high cost, then we have to think of other sources of calcium intake. Increasing household consumption of fruits and vegetables, and ensuring food security through sustainable access to food, ensure adequate maternal nutrition, and the frequency of distribution of vitamin A in high-risk areas, sustainable iron supplementation, and distribution supplements. I think this is one of the key problem wherein the supply is not really very much reaching the grassroots. No? So try to revisit and revitalize food fortification program. So I think with that, I'd like to thank you very much. And as a food for thought, let us see whether we will be meeting the Sustainable Development Goal by 2030 with all the indicators or with all the data that I have presented. Maraming salamat po.